Welcome to Las Catalinas. I'm Sarah Viga, the senior town architect here since 2014. It's my pleasure to take you along a walking tour of Beach Town today. Beach Town's our first phase, and as we're coming upon its completion, we have an opportunity to take a look back and focus on one of the most important primary decisions that we made, and that was to design a car-free town. So today we'll walk along the car-free streets of town and talk about the benefits, the strategies, and quite frankly the mistakes we've made and what we've learned along the way. For those of you who don't know, Las Catalinas is a new town being built here in the northwest coast of Costa Rica in the Guanacaste province. We sit on about 1,200 acres of land. 20% of that is what's going to be developed. The rest of it is staying as a natural tri-tropical forest. And we're reforesting that little by little, as well as creating 45 kilometers of hiking and biking trails. Charles Brewer, the town founder, came upon this land in 2006, and that's when we were founded. Shortly thereafter, we had a few design charrettes, both urban and architectural, with many familiar faces from New Urbanism. And then Douglas Dewani, in concert with TSW, literally working out of Charles's pool house, came up with the resulting master plan. Little by little, we've been building that out in micro phases, and what we have is the result here today. Now, we've got Charles waiting down with a group of our project managers for construction, and we should go probably meet up with them and take a walk.
All right, here we are on the Paseo del Mar in front of these original houses with, I think, a whole bunch of lessons about things that work and maybe some that didn't work so well. Most fundamentally, the house is on the other side of the street. So Ocean Street House, as you are familiar, most subdivisions are completely the other way around. With these first houses, one of the things we thought about a ton was the balance between privacy and sociability. And different houses chose different balances. Over time, my own opinion has moved much more strongly toward the sociability. This house has friends of mine living in it, and if I'm walking by, I can't even tell if they're there, you know? So I find myself blindly calling up to see if they'll answer me. It's a beautiful outdoor room, it's a great house, but in terms of interacting with the world, I think it's way too private. Down at the end, there's somebody sitting there, so we won't talk about her, you know, right in front of her, but it's the opposite extreme where there's actually a little plunge pool right there, you know, 1.5 meters above the street, and a very friendly stoop to sit on, and a completely transparent balcony, and it's totally easy and natural to talk to people as they come by there. But you definitely, you know, 10 years ago, I was way more concerned about the privacy. Now I'm much less concerned about the privacy and more wanting to maximize the sociability. And over here, the rocking chairs, where around this time of day you will almost always find me after my morning bike ride, usually hanging out with some of the local characters and probably meeting some new people that are just passing by. I've overcome my natural shyness when I'm in the rocking chairs. I become an incredible extrovert. Somehow. Why is this car-free thing so important? And it is profoundly important. When the first part of every trip you take is on foot, you just relate to the world in a different way. And probably number one on my list of why it's so important is the natural sociability that happens. In a beautiful environment like this, everybody you see is sort of naturally your friend. And when you're driving a car, let's face it, everybody you see is sort of naturally your enemy out there competing for scarce space on the roadways. A part of that natural sociability that is maybe the most important part of all to me has to do with kids. I grew up having freedom as a kid, but freedom for kids was just lost somewhere between my generation and my children's generation. And when I was getting going with Las Catalinas, my family was very young, and I wanted them to have a place where they could have freedom. That part of Las Catalinas is for sure an enormous success. We have a large population of full-time residents that are kids now, and they have a heartwarming and wonderful degree of freedom. But being car-free has a lot of other advantages as well. When you're building at the 2, 3, or 4-story scale that we're building here, being car-free basically automatically doubles your density. I had done a new urbanist project previously, Glenwood Park in Atlanta, and I think Glenwood Park is very good, but in some ways it still felt a little half-baked to me. We did everything right in having a nice mix of uses and places to go and streets that had traffic calmed and parks. But still, some of the things I'd like to have happen in town or a neighborhood weren't really happening there. And I really think that the missing ingredient is getting the cars out of the town altogether. And so I wanted to do that somewhere. It seemed like doing it in a resort location would perhaps give some extra degrees of freedom, because even I was not quite ready to go build a car-free neighborhood or town in the Atlanta metropolitan area. And so I engaged in a search and eventually found what is just the perfect place for this undertaking here in the Guanacaste region of Costa Rica. Here we can see an example of two things. One, a very attractive door, and we have from the beginning made doors a real priority. You know, our architecture we try to keep pretty simple, you know, wonderful natural materials, you know, good sort of traditional sizes and fenestrations, and doors are a real example, or a real chance to do something special. So surprisingly big, surprisingly small, you know, interesting shapes. Also from here we can see an example of something that's really fundamental to town is the permeability. And in Beach Town proper, every house has a street front and back, and quite often on one or both sides of the house as well. Costa Serena here has Paseo del Mar, Paseo de los Niños, this little gap, and a tiny little passage between there and my house. And that permeability it gives such tremendous interest and fun to the experience of being in the town.
And function, because it's rollable. There's not a single house, there's not a single house in Beach Town that doesn't have a rollable access where you can bike up to it,
right,
or any sort of carts for everyday life or checking in and checking out.
This is the first urban place in Las Catalinas that was complete. So it's a fantastic place, right? It feels so natural. It's only 10 years old, well, in the case of the older houses, and less than that in case of all the ones on this side. But it sort of feels like it's been here forever.
Hola, yo soy Diana Cascante, soy arquitecta y soy la directora de construcción del desarrollo de Las Catalinas. Tenemos construcciones entre dos casas construidas, terminadas y habitadas. Entonces, en el día a día tenemos niños corriendo, personas paseando a sus perros, sus rutinas diarias de ejercicios, y no podemos parar de construir y tampoco podemos parar el día a día del pueblo. Entonces, uno de estos retos ha sido la seguridad ocupacional. En la construcción la seguridad ocupacional es muy importante, por supuesto, de nuestros trabajadores, pero acá tenemos que pensar más allá, pensar en el peatón. Entonces hemos tratado de tener ciertas reglas, ciertos protocolos para poder implementar pues, la seguridad ocupacional un poquito más global. Dentro de eso tenemos protocolos de comunicación, que aquí viene el segundo punto más importante, que es la comunicación. Nosotros vivimos en un pueblo y trabajamos en un pueblo, entonces tenemos que estar en constante comunicación. Somos una vecindad, vecinos, todos tenemos que estar enterados de lo que pasa, y la construcción debería ser algo que tiene que celebrarse, ¿no? Es un progreso, y a tener la comunicación constante con nuestro departamento de operaciones, ellos nos han ayudado a mantener a los dueños, a los residentes y a los habitantes comunicados. Entonces nosotros avisamos o anunciamos siempre que tenemos un evento importante, desde movimientos de tierras, arranques de construcción, acarreo de maquinaria, cierres. ¿Para qué? Para que ellos se sientan involucrados en el proceso de construcción, y en vez de ver la construcción como un impedimento a su renta, por ruido, por polvo, sino lo vean como algo que es celebrar, el progreso. Estamos terminando nuestro pueblito que tantos años nos ha costado construir, y la verdad para el Departamento de Construcción y Arquitectura es una alegría siempre empezar una casa y queremos que los dueños se sientan también partícipes de esto. Con esta comunicación nos hemos ayudado también a hacer la parte de construcción más humana. Por ejemplo, los ingenieros y los trabajadores también tienen que entrar caminando al pueblo, no es permitido un vehículo. Entonces, esto lo que hace es que propicia encuentros entre los trabajadores y los dueños. Ya se empiezan a conocer las caras, los nombres, se saludan y ya son parte de la vecindad, que es lo que queremos tener aquí. La construcción va a seguir por muchos años más y tenemos que aprender a vivir con eso y agradecer que es un progreso. Trabajar en un pueblo peatonal nos ha llevado a ver las necesidades de llegar al detalle de absolutamente todo, desde el detalle de una puerta, un llavín, un farol, un frontalín. Todos estos detalles, al ser un espacio peatonal, tenemos una vida más pausada, entonces el peatón tiene más tiempo para detallar cada cosa, cada detalle.
This is an incredible building. It was planned as 4, 5, or 6 townhouses. And in normal new urbanism, there are a lot of really small footprint townhouses, which can be great, but they also have, some problems in my mind, and they're always up and down the stairs. And if you're going to live in a 3 or 4 bedroom house, wouldn't you rather it all be on one unit, or on one floor?
Yeah.
You probably would. Courtesy of Ricardo Arismena and his architectural crew, it's just, and so it kind of opened our eyes. And so since then we've been much less about the small footprint townhouse kind of building and much more about these flats. It's kind of an unheard of building type, honestly, in the world out there. But I think it's a fantastic building type to have your 3-bedroom house on a single floor with open space and light all around you. It's just a super luxurious, wonderful thing, and it's affordable for us to buy. So I think that's been a really good sort of building innovation that we have come across over the years.
And one I think that's only possible, like it's, ground-related housing is not something new or revolutionary, but what we've been able to do by eliminating the car from the equation, and there's a typical very good type where you park under your house and walk up.
Yeah.
But by not having to sacrifice so much area to a car, that can become another flat.
A great point about the cars. I don't think I'd really thought of that, but why doesn't this happen elsewhere? Because people want to house their cars in the house with them. I love the entry experience here. When I arrive to town in a car and I go down the steps one way or another, and you sort of descend from the often hot and sunny and dusty world of cars out here to this amazing, cool, beautiful universe that exists below. And so all the things we were looking at up till now, I bet they're all within 100 meters of here. So it's not like it's some hardship, to make it up here and get in the car. And at the beginning, oh God, the brain damage we went through thinking about, oh gosh, how are we going to handle this? How are we going to that? What if you show up with some groceries? What if it's raining? All these things that you find to be such difficult things about being car free. And guess what? It's just not a problem. It's just not that hard. And the benefits that we've talked about of the natural sociability and the kid freedom and the beauty and the peace and quiet and the safety, they're so incredibly outweigh the costs of having to walk a very short walk through this amazingly beautiful place to get up the world of cars. It's a no-brainer.
So I want to thank you for joining us for our little walk through town today. It was really special for us to be able to share this with you all the way from Costa Rica and be a part of CNU from afar and virtually. I want to invite everybody to join in the conversation with us. Let us know what you think we could improve on, any ideas that you have in terms of how to make a car-free town work nowadays, and not only be for now but also for the future. And participate in being part of our Architects Guild and reviewing insurettes, as well as just coming to visit and enjoy town. We would really enjoy it, and I would love for any questions and any comments. Thanks again for joining us and hope to see you all soon.